Today, we've got some Summer League action in our 2K24 draft-only franchise, and I was debating as to what should be the format of this episode, but ultimately I decided to show clips from, I think, the three most important players from our Summer League roster, and then we'll talk about the team as a whole after that, and of course we're going to start with Sid, the Kid Lowry, the first overall pick in this last draft, and here against the Rockets, I think he really gave us a glimpse into his future. Didn't do much in the first quarter, but here in the second, he started to get hot from beyond the arc and really took us from being down to giving us a lead here in the end of the second. The dude just wasn't missing, and that's really, at the end of the day, what we drafted him for. Yes, he's a great defender right now, and he can pass a bit, but his scoring ability, which he really showed off here against the Rockets after, like I said, a slow first quarter, is what we hope to see from him. And in the Summer League and really early on in their career, all you want to see is the glimpses, right? I don't expect him to be great, average, 25 points for us next season, but it's good to see that he can go through stretches of kind of carrying this team, as now we're in the fourth quarter. We need to make a bit of a comeback, and Sidney Lowry was a massive part of the fourth quarter. It was really two big quarters in this Summer League game. The second and the fourth, he really kind of started to put the team on his back, and the Rockets really started to play him tough here in the fourth, and so he kind of switched gears here, and in the late stages of this game, he became a passer, and I really like to see that too. Like, even though I just said the number one thing I wanted to see from him was his scoring ability, I like that, when it comes to the later stages of a close game, he's not just going to chuck up shots. He's going to make the right reads, going to find his teammates, and ultimately, he was by far the number one reason we won that game, pouring in 32 points and 6 assists. Now let's talk about Jaden Hardy, who, one of the reasons I think he's one of the three most important players on this Summer League team is we've really put him into a big-time role ahead of his third season and our second season as a franchise. Of course, was kind of playing a role of backup point guard / bucket getter last year, but when we didn't bring back Talen Horton-Tucker, we really put Jaden Hardy in a spot to be our starting point guard, and I was kind of nervous making that this decision just because he's not much of a natural passer, but most of the clips you're going to see from this game, and why I thought this was his best game, even though he definitely wasn't his best scoring game, is he was an excellent floor general in this game. You're seeing just a bunch of really good passes that are on time, they're on target, they're getting the shooters like Sidney Lowry plenty of great looks, and he had a bunch of assists. He ended up getting double-digit assists in this game with only one turnover, and so this was really the game that, even though he had better scoring outputs, this was my favorite Jaden Hardy performance of the Summer League. It really proved to me that I think he's ready to step into that starting point guard role. He had an excellent, player progression portion of the offseason, went up to 10 badges from 3, and so I think that's going to really help him be a scorer. He still doesn't have a lot of badges that help him facilitate all that much, but I just think his natural progression is going to help him do that, and I really liked what he did here against the Utah Jazz. Now, the third player that we're going to really talk about at length here with clips is AC Stevens. And if you had to pick one player for me that I thought was the best player in the Summer League for this team, I'm going to choose AC Stevens. This guy was an excellent two-way impact. I selected him, and I liked him over other centers in this class because of what I thought he could be early on in his career. Doesn't have the best upside, but even with that, I think I was still, surprised in a good way with what I saw from him in terms of his ability to be a good two-way impact player. Defensively, he was able to get some blocks. He's not like elite in that area, I would say, but what I was really impressed was his ability to play the passing lanes in the pick and roll. He got a lot of steals here. I don't think this game was his best steal game per se, but it was probably his best in terms of blocks, and just offensively, he finishes plays quite well, and I was pleasantly surprised with his ability to not only finish in traffic in general, but just he has a variety of finishing moves. He's able to finish at some awkward angles. He's able to sometimes finish with, agility and finesse, and sometimes just dunk it right on a guy. And so I am very excited about AC Stevens. I would say center last year for this team was our worst position on the team. And I just think AC Stevens is going to play so much better than both Goga and Hartenstein did for us last year. As you can see here, this is what I'm talking about. Sometimes he could just straight up posterize a man. But I'd say the majority of the times we saw him finish kind of with some finesse, which was impressive to me. And he didn't get a ton of in this game that we're previewing here, but he even had some, turnaround mid-range shots. I don't know if that's a shot that I love, but he did show an ability to hit it. So now that we've previewed those three guys, let's go ahead and just talk about Summer League in general and kind of my general thoughts of what I saw in it. And I think Sidney Lowry, his 11 badges, a lot of them in shooting, really came in handy here, and I think it's going to help him be good early on. He shot a scoldering 64% in Summer League with 25 points per game. But then AC Stevens, you see here, shot 75% on 18 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, and 1.2 blocks. One guy I was very pleasantly surprised with was Josh Shelton, the power forward. I think heading into the Summer League, I would have said Patrick Baldwin was going to be the backup power forward, and Patrick Baldwin was very good himself, but I just think Joshua Shelton earned himself that that backup role to start the season. Probably going to have a short leash on it, but I do think he's going to get it. Another position battle that we saw in the Summer League was Cedric Thorpe versus Chucky Booker at center. I gave Cedric Thorpe a lot more run. I only gave Chucky Booker one game, but he was very good in that game, and so I think I'm going to give Chucky Booker the nod there in terms of starting the season as our backup center. And as we just went over those assists a minute ago, you saw that both Lowry and Hardy had good assist to turnover ratios, which is something that we really, really struggled with last season, where not only did we not have guys with good assist numbers, but the turnovers were high as well. So I was very encouraged that we have a couple guys who can make plays and limit the turnovers. The shooting, I think the Summer League, one thing it showed me is that we might need to tone down the slider just a bit. And so going into Season 2, I'm turning down success rate for the shots at all three levels by 2. Except for 3-pointers, which I'm actually going to go down by 4. And so that's going to maybe make it a little bit more realistic. And it wasn't that I'm using only, the Summer League to do this. As we saw, when I'm talking about Joshua Shelton in press, he shot 69% almost from 3, which is nice, obviously. But I think just last year, too, in general, we saw maybe a little bit too much shot making. Didn't see a ton of high score games, but that's just because our team was really bad. Not, I think, because the sliders were, good per se. And so we'll try it. If we need to change it and we need to boost it back up a little bit from what we put in episode 1, then that's fine. But I'm going to try a little bit of nerfed sliders here in this to start Season 2. I lost my train of thought there for a minute. The last kind of position battle that we had in Summer League that I don't really know if I found a winner is Wilson Fisher versus Devin Livingston for backup point guard. I think they both have their pros and cons. I can't say one definitively played better than the other. Wilson Fisher did shoot better pretty significantly over Livingston. but Livingston was a much better passer, I would say, which it's hard to say which I would value more. Like the defender who shot better or just the better playmaker. So that one I'm still undecided. I'll make the decision as we get into season 1. But that is it for this episode of our draft only franchise. I will be back soon with another, and I will see you then.